Hello, my name is Michael Love, and I would like to welcome you to this video, Losing My Religion, Deconstructing Dogmatic Religious Beliefs. Many of us no longer subscribe to the religious beliefs that we were taught as children. Somewhere along the line, we began to question those beliefs, and many of us had a hard time finding answers to the questions they raised. In this short video, I'm going to share with you some of my experiences in looking for those answers. A good place to start is to ask yourself the question, how do you lose your religion in the first place? Many parents think it's a good idea to pass their current religious beliefs onto their children. This seems only natural. And as we get older, we begin to understand what these beliefs mean, and we may have some questions about them. And as the answers start coming in, depending on who you ask, you can either be satisfied with the answers, and that's great, or you can say, yeah, I don't think so, and keep on looking for answers. I like to look at life as a journey with multiple stages along the way. Each journey brings its unique experiences, and you can question your religious beliefs anywhere along your journey. Here's a little bit about my story. I was raised in an ambiguously Catholic family and lost my religion by the time I finished high school. I was hopeful that I could find some answers in college, but alas, that didn't happen. So what I did, and I think a lot of people do, is we just put the whole search on hold. 30 years later, I was introduced to New Age concepts, and they really resonated with me. Because of that, I left corporate America and I opened an alternative wellness center. I put together this chart which shows my understanding of how we create our own personal reality. It starts with core beliefs that then give rise to thoughts that allow us to make choices. And when we make choices, we create actions, and these actions lead to experiences. And these experiences validate our core beliefs. So there's a loop going back and forth. I tend to look at our beliefs as our personal foundation, and I think of it like the foundation of a house. We build our life experiences based on what we believe. Now, so if you want to have a very strong house, I believe you have to have a very strong foundation. And old beliefs that we have that we no longer trust weaken our foundation. Here are some of the old dogmatic beliefs that I no longer trusted. The first one is sin. One of the first considerations about sin is original sin, and that was something that was very difficult for me to believe in. Now, I'm not against the Ten Commandments. I think they're pretty good rules to live by, but do we really sin when we disobey one of those commandments? And the next point is, do we need to confess our sins? Do we need to have forgiveness? And I ask the question, what if there is no such thing as sin? A second old religious belief that I had problems with was the entire concept of heaven and hell. Reward and punishment for being good and evil. God judges us at the end of our life. So one of the questions about heaven and hell is, where are they? 2,000 years ago, it was okay to say, well, heaven is up above the clouds and hell is in the earth, but we know that is no longer the truth. So here's my question. What if neither heaven nor hell exist as we have been taught them? The next belief I'd like to talk about is judgment. And I believe that judgment of ourselves and others is perhaps one of the most harmful human characteristics that we learn. In the first place, when we judge ourselves, we generally use unrealistic expectations to measure ourselves, to evaluate our performance, like perfection. And when we use such high standards, we very often fall short, and that leaves us feeling defeated. It leaves us feeling bad about ourselves. The second case about judgment, and that is judging others, is that we really never know the full story. We don't know what's going on with another person. And it's just very unfair to judge them based upon our incomplete understanding of what they're going through. So my suggestion is to ditch the judgment, let go of the judgment, and instead offer compassion. The next religious belief that I'd like to talk about is the denial of reincarnation. This is something that I personally struggled with for a long time because I believe that when you accept this notion of reincarnation, it really breaks the dam. It opens up so many other questions about who we are and why we're here and the whole nature of this third dimension. I think one thing that we can all agree on is that we are currently incarnated. So when the question comes up, do you believe in reincarnation? What you're really asking is do you believe that you're incarnated more than once? And it's a question that all of us sooner or later are going to have to answer for ourselves. The last religious belief that I'd like to talk about, and there are many that I could talk about. The last one I want to talk about is Jesus. You know, we all have to come to terms with who and what we believe Jesus was. And what was the role that he played? Do we believe that he was the Redeemer? Do we believe that he was more divine than you and I are? Do you believe that he's coming again to establish a new world order here on the planet Earth? I believe that the messages that have been documented, his messages that have been documented in the scriptures, in the Gospels, have really been hijacked, and they are no longer really valid representations of what his message really was. If you were raised in one of the major religions, you were probably taught some pretty dogmatic beliefs. Here are some of my current beliefs that help me break free from the limiting religious beliefs of my youth. We are not broken, and we don't need to be fixed. We are not victims of an event that happened thousands of years ago, and we don't need to be redeemed because of this event. The notion that some group of people had been chosen by God is outdated. Sickness is not God's will. Our bodies are not frail and fragile. They can heal, and they are probably the best gift that we have ever received. As you start your journey, or perhaps as you continue on your journey, I'd like to share with you some of the experiences that I had, and hopefully you can get a little heads up on them. The first thing that I experienced was loneliness. When you begin to question these dogmatic religious beliefs, the question is, who can you really talk to about it? And it's very difficult to talk to your family about it, and it can be very difficult to talk to your friends about it. So you kind of have to seek out a new group of friends and acquaintances to be able to have that conversation. As you start your journey to find answers to your questions, you may sense a loss of community. If you were used to going and attending services of one sort or another on a regular basis, either Saturday or Sunday, and you were used to meeting with a certain group of people and they became your friends, you felt a sense of community. And when you no longer attend those places on the same at the same regularity, you can feel, understandably, a loss of community. And it's not really clear to you where your new community is. You don't know where to go and find this new group of like-minded individuals. But the good news is, with a little perseverance, I think you will be able to find that group in the not too distant future. I can recall a certain amount of sadness and letting go of those old religious beliefs because they're kind of all the only thing you've ever known all your life, and they're kind of like old friends. You hate to see them go, but thank goodness I think that that feeling is only temporary, and as you open up to new beliefs, the feeling of sadness of letting go of something that's been around, that's been part of you for so long, I think that kind of fades. The next thing you might experience is fear of change, and um, people have a fear of change not just with this, but with all kinds of different considerations. It's really, what lies ahead. It's the unknown. We seem to be more comfortable with maintaining the status quo than opening up to new concepts, new ideas, and new experiences. And there's an old expression that the only thing that's constant is change, and it's kind of an oxymoron that so many people resist change, but it does seem to be something that happens all the time. Now I'd like to present some concepts for your consideration. These are concepts that you may discover new or that you may rediscover on your journey moving forward. And the first one is consciousness. Our human understanding of consciousness is very limited, and for most of us, our understanding of consciousness is indeed that, is it's human consciousness. But what about other forms of consciousness? Do animals have consciousness? Do plants have consciousness? Does energy have consciousness? So as you continue on your journey, you might run into some of these concepts that are really quite interesting to think about. Another concept that I'm sure you're already aware of is connection, but you may come across the notion of connection in a lot of different areas. And one of those areas is the connection to your body. Many of us are more or less estranged from our body. We don't pay attention to the signals that our bodies are sending us. And if we could open up to those, that connection, if we could open up to those messages that we're receiving from our body, we might enjoy a higher level of health overall. Now, there are also other layers of communication, and but I'm just going to save that for a later conversation. The third concept for your consideration as you travel along this road is compassion. We've talked about compassion before. And I think it's just really so important. I want to mention it again. We need to practice compassion. It's just as much as judgment is a learned um, trait that we have. I think compassion for a lot of us is a learned trait. And so the more we can practice it, the more we are able to access it and use it and replace judgment with compassion. This was intended to be a short overview of some of my experiences in losing my religion, and I hope it has given you some um, things to think about. And the one thing I want you to really understand is that you don't have to go on this journey by yourself. There is support for you along the way. Others have traveled down their paths. They're not traveling down your path. Your path is unique. And the time you take in order to journey down your path is all up to you. However, there is support. And if you'd like to go into this notion more deeply, I would suggest that you go to my website and download a free booklet called Losing My Religion that's available. So thanks very much for taking the time to watch this, and I hope to be able to talk to you again real soon.